Hey, welcome to Sisters Unfiltered. We are so excited about today and all the things we're going to be talking about. Before we get started, we just want to ask you to please like our podcast, subscribe, follow, share, whatever all those things mean. That just helps us get to reach more people and to just, be able to help people. So if you would do that, we would greatly appreciate it. And before we get started, Lindsey and I were like, what have we been doing lately? We've talked a lot about graduation and vacations coming and summer coming and stuff. And something that's kind of different for us is that we have been getting invited to baby showers. Mm-hmm. We have some friends, especially through church, that are all not married, having babies in that season. And so I don't feel like we've been in a baby shower season in a long time. And it was funny because I was yesterday looking to get some gifts for some baby showers coming up. And it just brings me back to when I was doing that. And I was like, what? I so think all the clothes and the blankets and all this stuff's so cute. And my tendency is to want to buy that. And then I have this struggle where I love the essentials. The things that I just loved and wanted during that time and used a lot. Yeah. Because there's a lot of stuff, which I'm a minimalist, but there's a lot of stuff out there that I just didn't use.
Oh, for sure.
Yes. And now there's even more stuff. Yeah. But what do you get for baby showers now, and what do you think is like?
Yeah, I think it's so different than when we had babies, but I also it's kind of like what I said about dating. Some things are different, but some things need to be kept the same.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. And it's like the same thing. I think there's always new gadgets and all these different things, and obviously everybody's different with how they raise their babies. And we did the whole what is it called, the book that we did?
Baby Wise.
So we sat our babies down a lot. So a bouncy seat and a extra saucer, and are they even call those that anymore?
I don't know. I'm so out of it.
I know, me too.
I literally was looking at the girls' registries, which is so cool. They have it all in one spot, even though it's different stores.
Oh, wow.
That you can get stuff at. It's really cool. Called Baby List, I think. Learning new things.
Yeah.
But I was looking at all their stuff, and I didn't see an extra saucer anywhere. But that's for when they're a little bit older.
They're a little bit older. Yeah, you usually don't get that. Yeah. But so my gifts I've decided is going to be Power of a Praying Parent books for all these women.
Yes.
Because me and you both absolutely love that book. Mm-hmm. So there's that. And then I don't know, I'm so picky about buying clothes because I think clothes are cute for a little buy the gift and then do a little something with it. Yes. But as a main gift, I feel like they are going to buy their own baby clothes. Yes. One, you can get baby clothes so cheap now. Mm-hmm. Really. So cheap, so cute at Target and Walmart and all these places. Mm-hmm. And they don't stay in them very long.
Yes.
So it's and I know if you have multiple kids, you keep them. But to me, clothes is definitely the thing that the mom wants to buy. Yeah. And not necessarily I think it's good to buy things that either are something they're not going to think about themselves.
Yes.
Because we've already been down this road. Or something they really need that they're not going to want to buy themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? I kept having all these flashbacks of things that were non-negotiables. All my kids, a blanket or a lovey. I love the loveys that they carried. Yes. And those were just a staple for us. A sound machine was a staple. We did a lot of bouncy seat. That was a big net swing.
Some of my kids did swing, some of them didn't.
Yeah, I don't even know if
a little play mat is good. Yeah. Extra saucer when they get older. Yeah. I think I told one of the girls that they're having a baby shower. We're gonna miss hers. Yeah. We're gonna be out of town, but she posted about a diaper genie. Whatever diaper pill is that what you call it. And I messaged her and I was like, you don't need one of those. Our friend who had twins 2 years ago, I told her this and she was like, best advice ever, and did it. Yeah. And it's all you do is put those diapers in Ziploc bags.
Yeah. I never had one either.
Literally poopy diapers. You told me that trick. Poopy diapers in a Ziploc bag, throw them in the trash. You don't smell them. Yeah. Literally game changer. In my little diaper or little caddy, I always had Ziploc bags. Yeah. Baby wipes, diaper cream, whatever, their diapers, and Ziploc bags. And I never used a diaper genie. I never used one of those. And it was, to me, that is a long-term thing that you could always do.
We never did that. Also, the what was the cover up when you nursed? What was it called?
Oh, the nursing cover.
I can't remember what it was called.
Because it was a certain.
I use that
all the time. Yes.
The caddy's a great idea. The caddy is great because you can carry it around from each room, and especially when they're newborns.
Yes, really when they're newborns. Yeah. And then the other thing that I used a lot when I loved buying when my kids were babies was the spoons that you could pour the baby food in.
Oh yeah.
And you just squeeze it. I don't know. It was brilliant. Because you're not scooping it up. If you're on the go, like at Chick-fil-A with your other kids, you just pour the baby food in the fat part of the spoon and then just squeeze it. Give it the baby, squeeze it. And it was awesome.
Yes. Another thing that I don't buy for people because I don't think they're all like about it, especially for boys, is when my babies were newborns, I loved gowns. You know, everyone loves the footed pajamas, which are cute, but they're a little bit more complicated when you're changing them and stuff. But gowns, I loved them.
So did I.
My boys, they wore gowns as pajamas all the time because it was so easy in the middle of the night to change their diaper and all that kind of stuff.
You just pull their legs up, swoop that gown down, and then pull it back out.
But I know that's not like some people think it's like a boy wearing a dress.
I think I told her too that gowns was the key
for
newborns.
For newborns, I literally almost bought one, or really thought about it. I was like, should I get them a gown? And I was like, I'm just not, because I don't know if people do it, but
I did it for my boys and my girls.
Oh,
it was the best. Then you're not snapping a million buttons. And I know now they have like all these. We didn't do the swaddle thing that these kids.
I mean, we didn't really have it.
No, I see like 3-year-olds walking around those things. I'm like, what? Those are giant. You know, like we didn't do all that stuff. So like,
I don't even think we had it.
We didn't have it because I had to learn how to swaddle in your like baby class or whatever.
That's what I did.
Like, and my kids never. By the way, we never swaddled. Like they were maybe when they were teeny tiny, but they weren't swaddled babies. But I mean, big. Like we always have pacifiers at the hospital, and so many people were against that too. I was like, pop that. You
just never know.
Like never know. They need soothing, and I wasn't gonna nurse them at all times every time they need soothing. So like. Anyways, it's just so different.
So honestly, like if I was thinking about it, I'm like, there's probably like 5 things that I was like, if I was gonna have a baby again, Lord help me, I would be like, these are the things that I would use. But I know not everyone is like that, you know. So
well, but also some of it's like these women are first time moms that were going to baby showers. You kind of like realize after your first time mom, like some things just aren't worth it.
Yeah, and that's just part of it.
And it's just part of the process. I felt like I kind of always listened to you, so like. It didn't, I don't know why. I've always been good about, like, I like to get other people's opinions on things. So for me, it was like, oh, if Ashley says it's not worth it, it's not worth it. You know, like, but.
And again, that's sometimes personality.
It is
I
personality.
am a minimalist. I don't like a lot of stuff. I don't like a lot of stuff out. I just was very minimal on what I would use, even for babies.
Yes. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm not as much of a minimalist, but I did for sure, like, I like to listen to people. If people say something's not worth it, to me, like, it's just better to listen, especially ones that have already had babies.
Yes.
You know?
But I ended up getting both the girls. They had both on their registries these like nursery nightlight things that I think you touch it and it's just like a dome. So I thought that's super helpful. You're nursing in the middle of the night, and then I'm going to put, like you said, either an outfit or something cute to go with it. But they both had them on the registry, so I thought, why not?
That's a great idea. I need to look at the registries because I got I did the Power Caring Parent and I did the prayer book with it.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do something with it. I might just do like diapers. I don't know.
Yeah, diapers are great too.
They're so great. And usually I don't do newborn diapers. I'll do like size 1 or 2, like when you're like way down the line and you're like, oh man, I don't have any more, and then they have like a size 2 diaper.
It's such a treat.
It's such a treat.
It is, yeah.
So it is, you know. Having babies is so fun.
It's so fun.
It's such a fun time in life.
I'm kind of glad that we're friends with people who have babies now.
My ice machine is making noises. Sorry about that, people. I've actually had, just a little side note, I've had people say lately that they hear things in our podcast. And if they're like working out, they're like looking around.
Yes.
Or they're like hearing beeping noises. Yes. So I've also had people say that they like it when I confirm what it is they're hearing.
They don't think you're crazy.
Yes, so I could turn my ice machine off, but apparently my ice machine still makes ice even if I turn it off.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have to deal with the ice that you're hearing clunking
I don't
down.
always re-listen to our podcast when you put it out.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, it just depends. And I was listening to one at the gym, and same thing. It was like the beeping from your dishwasher.
Yeah.
I literally started looking around. I was like, what is beeping in here? Like, I did not think it was on the podcast that I was listening to. I thought it was like, but I don't know, it had that like distant sound or whatever. But that's funny.
Sometimes I'll try to ignore it and then maybe say something later. But just if you guys hear anything, just know it's either my ice machine, my refrigerator, or the beep. I'll try not to do the beeping of the dishwasher.
Yeah.
I did not expect it.
You don't even realize all the noises that your house makes until you're trying to like record something.
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah. So anyways, I apologize for that. But this is the best place for us to record. So aesthetics for the YouTubers and the...
Yeah, it's great. So today, it's funny because there's episodes where you could talk very easily about the subject.
Yeah.
There's episodes where we've studied up some, and a lot of people have asked us to talk about adoption. And it's one of those subjects that's interesting because, one, Lindsey and I both have adopted daughters, and they're young. They're 14 and how old is they?
12.
12. And so we want to like protect them in a way.
Yeah.
But today we're going to talk about our adoption stories and maybe, talk about a few truths of adoption that, like really great things and some things that I think can be surprisingly hard, just like if you do anything else in life, right? If we were having a conversation about biological kids, which we have, just about parenting and everything, there's always some things to navigate when it comes to something that's going on in your family, relationships, whatever that is. And so just our journeys of adoption. And it's the same thing, like, people have asked us, and we've thought about talking about even when our mom passed away, like the process and kind of what happened and the journey that we went on through that. But it's one of those things where you're like, okay, are we ready to tackle that yet?
Yeah.
It's been almost 4 years, and we'll get to that eventually. But I think we both just have to kind of be ready to talk about it.
And there's just things that like, I feel like we should talk about, but we have to also be sensitive to the people that are involved in
the story.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, I even think our dad getting remarried is a really good topic.
Yes.
I just want to always be sensitive to, our dad and Sharon and our whole family with that. But the reason why I think it would be a good topic is because I think people walk through that a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it's not talked about very much.
Yes.
And I think it's like, how do you walk through that journey? And
Yeah.
what does that look like? And maybe from some people's perspective, looking in on any of the things we just discussed, adoption, our mom passing away, our dad getting remarried. People looking in on this from the outside perspective might just think we handled everything wonderfully, or we're ignoring some things, or we're oblivious to things, or we're different than they are because we handle things differently than these other. That's not true. Like, any of your perspectives most likely are not 100% true.
Yeah. And we do that with other people, right?
We all do it. It's not just y'all.
Yeah.
It's us too.
Yeah.
Anybody. That's why I say that, is because I've been guilty of that myself, looking in, and then you find out later, like, oh, what really was going on there? And it doesn't mean it was all bad.
Yeah.
None of this has been all bad.
Yeah.
But it's just that, you got to be real careful with looking in on people's lives through a very small lens, because you don't really know, and none of, if you're looking in on our lives through any social media, I'm not a fake person. If you know me, I'm real, very real, but I'm not going to post, you're not going to post all the bad and good in all scenarios.
No, I mean, there's just a time and place for all of
There
those
is.
things, like we kind of harp on social media how like, oh, that's everybody's highlight, that's not real life. But honestly, like, there's some things that even sometimes I think people post, and it's so vulnerable that I feel like uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying anything's right or wrong to post. I'm just saying, like, there's just things that are layered and that you have to navigate differently.
Yeah.
So, as we talk about Adoption Day, we probably won't talk about every single thing that we've ever gone through in adoption, but we definitely want to tell our stories of how we came to that, about our girls, how honestly amazing it's been, and just such a journey. But it is a journey, just like with anything else.
And if you have questions for us that we don't tackle, again, please feel free to like message us.
Yes. It doesn't mean we won't do a part 2.
Yeah,
to
maybe
adoption,
we will. Maybe we will. We just really want to be. For me, more than anything, I want to be sensitive to Ava Mae and Ella. Yeah. That one day they'll listen to this.
Yes.
And I want them to be. I want to be very sensitive to that, because we truly love them with everything in us.
And I mean, we're still
walking through
it.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. Walking through something that's different than when you have your own kids that you've had since birth.
And I
it's
think
just different.
it's just always going to be walking through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's just different seasons of life for everybody. And
Yeah.
so, anyways,
Yeah.
let's get to it.
Okay, so I'll start since
Yeah.
I was the first one
Yeah.
to adopt.
Yeah.
My husband and I, we both wanted a big family. Jeremy is the only child. I'm super close with my brother and my sister, and so I always wanted a big family. And so we knew that from the get-go. So we had 4 boys kind of right in a row, every 2 years, give or take a few months. And then with our last one, Jeremy and I had this whole thing where he didn't want to give a vasectomy and I didn't want to get my tubes tied. But it was so funny because as soon as Grayson was born, like literally that same week, I heard Jeremy on the phone with the doctor making an appointment to get a vasectomy.
He was like, I'm ready.
So like to say all that, we really felt done. I felt done, like complete, even though we had 4 boys, I was like, this is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
I'll embrace this. And I was never, just side note, devastated to not have a girl. At all. Like, I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I was just like, how in the world do I have 4 boys in a row?
You
This
never,
is hilarious.
ever, I never would have gotten that from you.
No. I never was one of, and I know there are people like that, but I was never like,
Yeah,
oh
and
my gosh,
that's-
I have to have a girl and I'm going to keep trying to have a girl.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
If, you know,
Right.
if some people
We would have had
like
10
that.
boys.
Yeah.
Literally, I think we were just made to have boys.
I'm going to turn my dishwasher off. Go
Uh,
ahead. Keep going.
Lindsey's dishwasher. Anyway, so Jeremy had a vasectomy. We were done. We were complete. And I think when Grayson was probably around 3 years old, we were living in Austin, and I just started feeling like the Lord started just putting adoption on my heart. Like everything I read, everybody I would talk to, it was like I couldn't get away from it. And so I remember bringing this up to him, like, hey, what do you think about adoption? And he was just like, absolutely not. You know, I think he was like, we have 4 kids, that's a lot. I think he saw dollar signs, not for the adoption process, but just like for the future, which is true. And he was just like, you know, we at the time were in ministry, and he's like, we will give to adoptions. We are going to always champion the orphan and the widow, just like the Bible says, but we ourselves are probably not, like, that's not something I want to do. So I was like, okay, because I knew that we both had to be on the same page about this.
Yes. Yeah.
And so a couple of months would go by, I still literally could not get away from it. Now, mind you, I only knew one family, I think, that had adopted kids ever growing up.
Yeah.
Like, I knew families like at that point that had adopted from our church,
Yeah.
but adoption wasn't on my radar. I had never thought, like, I meet people all the time who are like, I've always thought about adopting, I want to adopt. I think that's amazing. It just was never on my radar or Jeremy's.
Yeah.
And a couple months would go by, could not get rid of this thought. I would ask him, again, the answer was no. This happened for like a year, almost. And then when our kids are 10, we talked about this, we take them on a mission trip. I think we've talked about this before. Jeremy took Tyler to Haiti, and he was going to train pastors, and there was no point of like going to an orphanage or anything like that. Like, he was just taking Tyler on this mission trip because he was 10 to Haiti. And at the very end of the trip, he went to an orphanage, just like a random, like, hey, I want to stop by this boys and girls home, was the guy that he was with, just said like, I helped them out some. And so they go there, and literally Jeremy says the Lord just spoke to him very clearly that you are going to adopt, and you're going to adopt from the country of Haiti. And he came home and he told me this, and I was in like utter shock because he had been so adamant. I kind of was like, what'd you do with my husband? Like, this is crazy. And so I was like, wow, okay.
I thought your response was, you're joking me.
Yeah, I did.
I remember
That was
you calling
my
me and
response.
saying,
Yes.
I literally said, he's kidding.
Yes.
He's joking.
I thought he was joking,
He's
and then I was
joking.
like, what did you do with my husband? This is nuts. But it's funny because I think God speaks to us in different ways, and being married, I've been married 26 years, and God speaks to Jeremy in these kind of like very extreme, you know,
Yeah.
things
This
where
is-
like even when he got saved, it was like a 180.
Yes,
You know, for me,
yeah.
I feel like it's a more of a slow burn type thing.
Yeah.
Of God speaking to me. And anyway, and so that was kind of how we came to the even like, okay, now we're gonna adopt.
Yeah.
But how about for y'all? Like, what was like, had you
That's-
thought about adoption before?
No, that's funny because Jeremy and I are in the same Enneagram members, and it's probably the same thing for
Yes.
both of us, how the Lord speaks to
Yeah,
us.
I think that's true. I think our personalities, like God speaks to us in the way that we are wired.
And we're going to receive it.
Yes,
And
the way we
like,
receive it.
so yeah, it's the same thing
It's
for
so
me
funny.
because it's like, you know, an absolute no to an absolute yes.
Mhm.
That seems to be how he speaks to me. Like, yeah, I mean, you had already had Ella home for a year.
Mm-hmm.
think it was a year.
Yeah.
Anyways, so, I watched Ashley walk through this journey of bringing Ella home, and it was a hard journey.
Yeah.
Their journey was very long.
Yes.
And so.
And I'm going to talk about that, but I just didn't want to talk for the next 30 minutes about my
We could have done 2 episodes.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
this, like your story and my story.
Yeah.
Anyways, I won't be long, but the thing is we watched Ashley and Jeremy go through their journey. It was very hard. It was also a huge transition bringing Ella home for Ashley.
Yeah.
Everybody, but for Ashley. And so I watched her go through that, and I never felt called to adopt either. Again, same thing. We didn't grow up around people who adopted. I think the closest thing would be Mom's tennis friend who, remember Sandy Williams? Do you remember this? She would bring in respite, like foster. She would do like foster babies.
Yes.
And that's maybe the closest I ever was around.
Well, the one family that we knew growing up that the kids were adopted, we knew they were adopted. Those kids didn't even know they were adopted.
Who? I don't remember their names.
Oh. But it was like a secret.
Oh, yeah.
Back then that was more of a thing.
And then they found out it traumatizes kids more.
Exactly.
You can't do that.
That was like the only family I knew.
Oh, yeah. So we didn't grow up around that. And so I never felt called to adopt. But we saw you walk through that journey, and I sat down with Mom at lunch, and out of my mouth, no word of a lie, I said, I am so thrilled that Ashley and Jeremy were called to adopt. I'm so happy for them. I'm so happy that Ella's home. I said, Derek and I will financially support anyone who adopts, but I am so glad God has not called us to adopt. Meaning that I watched how hard it was to get Ella home.
Yeah.
Like there was just a lot of hard things to it.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, okay, that's hard. I'm glad that's not what we have to walk through. And it was like that moment. The Lord was like, ha ha, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Because 3 weeks later, I'm almost positive it was about 3 weeks later, we were at church, and they brought in a group on stage that was going to China to go to this, I think it was New Day Foster Home, to go to this, foster home and all that, and to work with these kids who were, up for adoption, but they had special needs. And literally in that moment, I'll never forget it. It was like the Lord just dropped the only way I know how to explain this, because God's spoken to me this way twice, maybe 3 times. I think it was twice. And it was like a cloud just drops on my head. And it's like the Lord was like, you have a little girl in China. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wait, what? Number one, never wanted to go to China. Never cared about going to China. Or had a desire to go to China. And then number 2, didn't think we had any interest in adopting. And so that was it. I left that day, and I told Derek, and I was like, you're going to have to get on board. Yeah. Because the bottom line is, if we don't do this, we're blatantly disobeying the Lord. I mean, that was how strongly I felt about it. And also felt like we all of a sudden had a desire to go to China, which was so weird. And so,
what was Derek's response?
The thing is like Derek was open to having more kids, and we already had 4.
Yes.
I'd already birthed Abby Kate. Abby Kate was little; she was not even 1 yet, and so I was the one who didn't want to get pregnant again, and so I look at all that now, and I think that the Lord was leaving that door open for us to adopt Ava May. That we were done biologically having kids, but we weren't done having kids. Yeah, because Derek wanted more, and so I was like, and he wasn't like, I want more. It was just like, I knew he wasn't totally ready to close the door. And so, anyways, Derek's response was, why China? Because he was like, why not Africa? I said, I don't know why. Yeah. I was like, the Lord told me China. Yeah. There's no way we're adopting from anywhere else, you know?
And people ask us, like, why Haiti? And I'm like, I was open to any option, like, because we had a lot of friends that did foster adopt here in Texas. And I was open to whatever. Honestly, I didn't have a country, but like God spoke to Jeremy so specifically. Yeah, same thing. It wasn't like, that was the only time he had ever visited Haiti. It wasn't like, oh, I fell in love with this country and I just want to adopt. It was like God spoke and he just knew. Yeah, and then I just think that the Lord obviously knew that he already had our girls picked out for us, and that was where they were. Yeah. Wherever they were is where we would have adopted them from, you know? So anyways, and then so Derek prayed about it. I was like, obviously I want him on board, but I was like, I also really felt like if we didn't do it, we would be disobeying the Lord. Yeah. And Derek prayed about it, and our process was much easier than Ashley and Jeremy's. Yeah. So as far as like Yeah. So I'll talk about my process, and then you can talk about yours if you want.
And when I mean process, I mean from signing your contract with your adoption agency to actually getting Ava May.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So we decided we wanted to adopt. Jeremy came home from Haiti. Literally, I was like, that's all I needed to be like, we're going for this. And I don't know, Lindsey and I have talked about this before. When you feel called to adopt, there's this laser focus that you have, and like you put on, I don't know, this is how I was. I put on blinders to anything that would take me from that focus. Like any stories that were negative, anybody's situation that I just was like, that's not gonna be us. We're getting this girl from Haiti, you know, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was just
I
so
don't
laser
even think
focused.
that we put those on. I think the Lord puts those on.
Right.
Literally, because it is.
Because you can get so disappointed.
So disappointed. Yeah. It's almost like childbirth.
Yeah.
Childbirth can be terrible, and yet here we do, and we go do it again.
Yes.
And it's like the Lord just puts these blinders on our eyes. It's just like, it's like you forget, or you just don't think it's gonna happen to you.
That's exactly.
Or
I mean, no one could.
Nothing can tell you anything different.
Yes.
It is the strangest.
It's the strangest thing. Yes, and I can only see that now. Like then, I don't know.
No,
I just was like, I don't even want to hear it.
You literally like, it's gonna be so great. It doesn't matter. We're getting this done. God has girlfriends. Oh my gosh, I love it. And everybody's like, everything. You're like, no, it's great. Who cares? It's strange.
Yes.
It's only supernatural. It's the only thing I can believe.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I know this one person at a different church in Austin that had adopted from Haiti. Like I just followed her on Instagram and I knew that, so I reached out to her. She told me about an agency, and God works that way too. I love how God uses His kingdom to just have relationships and make things happen. And then I found an agency. This is so crazy. In Austin, it was like probably 30 minutes from our house. They only adopted from Haiti, only.
Yeah.
And found that agency, signed with them, got our home study, got our paperwork done on our side within 6 weeks, which was insane.
Yeah.
Insane. But I was just, again,
so focused.
very laser
Yes,
focused.
it is.
So, got that. We saw, then what that agency partners with one orphanage in Haiti. So they only had one orphanage they worked with. And I was like, you know, you fill out all your paperwork with adoption, like what you're looking for, kind of, which is, it's a weird feeling.
So weird. It's like Derek says, it feels like the NFL draft.
It's so strange. And it makes you really
feel bad.
It
That's makes
exactly
you feel
right.
bad. Like I'm willing to take this child and not this child. And you're just like, oh.
And it's like, for us, you have to consider your family dynamics at the time. You know, we have 4 boys, right, where we wanted someone younger than Gray, but only like a couple years younger, so that we kept the 2 years apart. And you're filling out all this stuff, and you're picking a boy or a girl. I mean, you are picking specifically. You're picking if they have special needs or not. What can your family handle? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of a refining moment of just like praying about it and feeling like what you feel like you can do and what you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a hard thing. If you talk to anyone who's adopted, I think they've been through that process.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we wanted a girl for sure. We're like, if we get to choose, we're going to choose a girl because we have 4 boys. You know, one that's a couple years younger than Grayson. Well, they didn't have any girls that age at this orphanage. And so I remember looking online because they had like pictures of their kids online, and I saw Ella for the first time. And I was like, oh, I wonder about this little girl. And so I asked about her, and she was about 3.5 years younger than Grayson, but definitely felt like, okay, we're going to pursue this little girl. So, and again, looking back now, because it took so long for Ella to come home, I'm very thankful that she was younger.
She was only like 8 months old.
Yes, 9 months old.
9 months
yes.
old. Okay.
So when we got matched with Ella, she was 9 months old. And she didn't come home till she was almost 3.
Yeah.
So it took a long time. And so now I'm thankful, because if she would have been older, how we originally thought would be best. It's so funny how you always have great plans, and God's like, well, hold on. And I think she would have been in Haiti longer. She would have remembered more. It would have been really hard, because the older kids come home, and this doesn't mean you shouldn't adopt older kids. You have to do what you feel like God has called you to do for your family.
And you have to know that you're called to do this.
Yes.
Like, if you are not called to do this, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because it is, I know that you look at the Bible, and the Bible says, you know, take care of the orphan. There's multiple ways you can take care of the orphan, and it breaks your heart that some of these kids don't have families. But if you're not called to do it, it's not easy.
Yeah. Yes. So,
right? Don't you feel?
Oh, I do. Absolutely. I mean, I think that Yes, you need to just make sure that that's something.
And what called is, that doesn't mean you have to hear from the Lord audibly. I just mean that you feel like you have the strength and the time and just everything.
Yes.
You just got to know.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yes. So Ella, we got matched with her when she was 9 months old. She didn't come home until she was almost 3. Really hard journey of getting her home. And yet at the time it was hard. And now I look back and I'm like, I don't know if I could do that again.
Yeah.
We went and visited her quarterly. So we would go for a whole week. They don't do this anymore. But literally when I met Ella for the first time, she had just turned 1. She was 12 pounds. She was tiny. And our orphanage, the directors, they just give you your kid, literally. No schedule, no what do they eat, what do they not, what do they sleep, what's their nap schedule, anything, no clothes, nothing. You bring all of that to Haiti with you.
That is so crazy.
We stay in a hotel with all the other families that are adopting kids from this orphanage. So for a week, we're with honestly a bunch of white families.
Yeah.
Adopting kids from Haiti, and you hang out in this hotel for a week. You don't even really go out because it's dangerous and they have guards and stuff like that. There's a pool there, there's a restaurant there, but we bring everything. We brought our clothes, bottles,
everything.
Food, everything. And they just give you this baby and you hang out with them for a week.
But Ella was little,
tiny,
but it was super sad for the kids that were older.
It was,
and their mom and dads leave them.
Yes, they understand. Yes. I think when we would leave, for the most part, because Ella was so young, it was way harder on us. But it is heartbreaking when because we did this. We were in Haiti 6 times. On our 7th time, I think, is when we brought Ella home.
Yeah.
So we would leave all of our boys here.
Yeah.
We had a couple babysitters that we loved, but my mom, my sister, everybody would kind of pitch in and help, and we would go visit her. Now, I'm so glad that we had that, because when Ella came home, she knew who we were.
Yes.
She knew who the boys were.
Yeah.
All of that kind of stuff. But anyway, so didn't come home until she was almost 3.
Yeah. So our adoption story is so different than Ashley's, because China is a much more, they say, westernized government.
Right.
So,
Haiti's a third world country. So
yes.
Imagine that your paperwork gets lost. They close offices for government, like for holidays, all the time.
Nothing makes sense. There's no rhyme or reason for anything. I know y'all signed in like a spiral bound notebook.
Yes, like court documents, like official court documents, and like a spiral bound notebook. It was very interesting.
Yeah, so we're talking like not the same.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's also one reason why it takes so long.
Yes.
It took so long is because there's no like process.
Right.
It's just when anybody feels like doing anything.
Yeah. So U.S. side super quick.
Yeah. Haiti side not so much. Yeah.
So China's very different. China was right now I think adoptions are closed in China, but which is super sad. But when we did it, it was like it's very westernized. So you're pretty much just doing paperwork. There's a process. So we found an agency. I don't remember how we found them, but they're in Austin, and they adopt out of China and other places. I think originally they started off just China because the name of their agency has something to do with China. So, so we found them, and honestly, the process was great. Like, we signed with them, I think Christmas. It was like Christmas Eve or something like that is when we officially signed the documents. And then we, I don't remember the timeline of everything, but we got matched with Ava May in like July. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't super long before we had all of our paperwork done and did our home study and all that. And then we got matched with Ava May. And it's funny how the Lord works, because like you guys saying, we wanted a kid that was like a girl that was like 2 years younger than Grayson, and you got Ella, who was like almost 4 years younger. Well, Ava May, we definitely wanted a girl that was the same age as Abby Kate, which is they're 7 months apart. But when you're doing all your paperwork on what you're willing to accept and not, I have 4 small kids, so we couldn't take anything too complex.
Yes.
But one thing I actually said that we probably weren't willing to accept is the child with cleft lip and cleft palate, because I knew that there was a lot of surgeries involved in that. Right. And God is so funny how He works, because they're like, hey, we got a file for like a 2-year-old, and I'm gonna send it over. And I was like, okay, and I got it, and Ava May had a cleft lip, cleft palate, and I was like, okay, we'll do it. She's ours. Cute as a button. Totally looked like she was sitting in timeout. I'm pretty sure she was. She had the cutest pigtails, big old eyes, and which is so not
Chinese, really. They have these big eyes and long eyelashes, just so cute. And I was like, I love the way her foster mom filled out paperwork about her, and it just was so funny. It made me laugh, and she was just so cute. And it was like again, the blinders are on.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we can do this.
Yeah.
This is great. Actually, they said her lip was repaired, and so all the pictures I saw of her lip was repaired. But they were they thought her palate was already repaired. Mm-hmm. And then once we had already said yes, I started reading deeper into her paperwork, and I was like, wait a minute. I'm not so sure her palate's repaired just from we had her discharge information from hospitals. And I was like, I don't think that her palate's repaired. And so when we went to pick her up, we didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't think her palate was repaired, so we were kind of expecting that. Mm-hmm. But that's an entirely different situation on how they eat. Do they drool a lot? Because when your palate, which Ava Mae did not. Ava Mae she was very smart and really good with stuff. But you have to bring bibs and you have to bring all this stuff because they can't have crunchy foods necessarily. Some kids can't. And how do you feed them? Yes. And so we weren't real sure.
So we had met Ella and spent so much time with her, and you didn't meet Ava Mae till you went. Even though the time was shorter.
Time was shorter because it was almost 1 year. So we got
you had pictures, you had videos, right?
We had pictures.
Mm-hmm. That you got before you went and got her.
Yes. Yeah. We have pictures and videos, and she was only in an orphanage, which I'm very grateful for a very small amount of time. And then she went to this foster family, and they seemed great. I didn't get to meet them. You don't normally get to meet people like that in China. Some people do, but we didn't. But have videos of them with her and all of that. But yeah, we signed in December, probably Christmas Eve, I think it was. And then we got the approval right before Christmas to go get her. But because of travel and expense and all this stuff, we waited until January, which that was a hard decision to make, but I knew that it was better for everyone, and she didn't know any different. Right. And we went and got her in January and brought the boys with us, and we were there for 2 weeks. And, doesn't know a lick of English, does not have a palate, so her Mandarin is not clear. Yes. I don't know Mandarin, and we pick her up, and I started to question what I'm talking. Only because when you get there and you meet this kid, she was super smart, but she was crazy, overstimulated, not literally crazy, overstimulated, had never experienced this, loved her foster mom. So she's away from her foster mom. It's just so many emotions. Yes. And I'm away from my 2 youngest girls, which are 1 and 3. Yes. For 2 weeks, I'm emotional, she's emotional, and I know most of you would say, you're the adult. You're right. Yeah. It was hard.
Yes. Yeah. I think that, it is such a beautiful thing. And God is just so good. And it's so cool because, we didn't get to choose our biological kids. We got to choose Ella and Ava Mae. And I just think oh my gosh, I tell my boys that and Ella that, we say that. We're no, we got to choose Ella, you know, kind of thing. And, but it doesn't mean that there aren't things that are hard about it. Yeah. Biology is very strong. Mm-hmm. And if you don't think that it's that strong, then go adopt a kid because it is strong. I mean, it's how God intended it. I think with adoption, you're taking something, I think this is important to say. God intended for husband, wife, child, family units to be together, and it's broken for lots of different reasons. Yeah. That doesn't always pan out, right? Yeah. Lots of different reasons and things we don't understand, some things we do, all those things. But it's something that's broken. And so there's redemption work and restoration, and adoption is beautiful, and that's what God did for us when he adopted us into his family. So it is really such a tangible thing to watch when you adopt someone and the family and everything, how God is with us. But it doesn't mean it's not hard, and there's not some things that you learn along the way and that they're learning too. I mean, I think about Ava Mae and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so hard. You don't know what is happening, really. Yeah. But on the flip side, for the adult and that person that all you've been wanting to do, you would spend, it doesn't matter how much someone would have said how much adoption was. I was like, I don't care.
Oh, got it. For sure.
I don't care how long this takes. I don't care how hard this is. My goal was to get this little girl home. Yeah. And it still is very emotional. Yeah.
It's just, when we say that your emotions lie to you, it's and not to live according to your emotions. Emotions are always bad, but they're not always bad. But we have to be very careful. And like that time is a very highly emotional time.
Yes.
For you as the mom, or maybe it's the dad who has a hard time, for the kid.
Yes.
And, you know, there's a lot of dynamics there. I think if you don't have any biological kids, it's probably easier.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, if sometimes...
Well, because, just real quick, I think that's only because you want to compare it to having your biological kids, and there's just something different about carrying a baby for 9 months, birthing a baby, all those things that are natural.
Yes. And so I think it's a little bit easier to go through maybe that process in some ways. In some ways it's not, because you don't know necessarily what to expect. There's just so much emotion involved, and it's a transition.
Yeah.
It can be hard.
And you're
so,
like working on this thing, like and then it finally happens. And sometimes you have that high for a long time of just go, driven, get this, and you reach the goal, whatever that is. There is also could be like a letdown of just like, okay, now we're here. And I was bad about not really thinking beyond getting Ella home.
Yeah, the focus
like
was
what
just
was this going to look like once she was home? Because I'm like, I got this. I've had 4 kids. You know, and it was a little bit different than that.
Yeah, and I think that like also like I think that when you look at adoption from the outside looking in, if you follow someone's story when they meet their baby and all that stuff, like you probably think that it's going to be this instant love and connection, just like it is with your bio child. It's not, and that's not bad. That's normal. It actually would be weird if it is, probably.
Right, I mean, you don't, just think about it. You don't have an instant connection with every kid that you meet.
No, and you don't have an instant connection.
Strange.
Even your husband.
Right. Yes.
That took time. It grows, right? And so, like, I think people think that you should, and then I think what happens is when you go into it as the adoptive parent and you don't, you feel bad. You feel guilty. You think something's wrong with you. And I don't think enough people talk about that. Like, hey, like I just brought a 2-year-old. No one births babies at 2 for a reason. Okay? So not only did I not birth her, I brought her to my home. She cannot speak English, but she smells like her country. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying at all. I'm just saying the smell is different. She's 2. She has an attitude. Okay, she's like sassy as all get out. Like, and I knew that because her foster mom would say she was naughty, which made me laugh so hard because Ava May is not naughty at all. But attitude, what 2-year-old isn't naughty? Most 2-year-olds are, right? And so like there was like all these things that I'm bringing her in to this family that already is established, and we already have bio kids, and they all know each other. And it's just, there's a lot of, you know, now we're having to teach her how our family operates. She doesn't understand that. Also, Ava May had to have a lot of surgeries that first year she was home. It was just hard. It was a hard transition for her, hard transition for me. And if you think for 2 seconds, you're the adult, you should have figured it out. Unfortunately, it's just not that easy. And I also think it's because it's not what God intended as far as like, you know, your bio family is really what he intended. Thank God for redemption. I for sure feel like Derek and I were called to be Ava May's mom and dad. I don't ever think anything different.
Right, absolutely.
Never. Like, I don't even think about it anymore. Like, she's my daughter, like 150%.
I honestly can hardly remember a time when Ella wasn't there. So it's just like, I don't ever think about that. But I think when you think back to that beginning transition, it's not always what we see, I think, or think that it's just this perfect thing. And it's that you have to work through.
And it's beautiful to watch it, especially from the outside looking in. But I think for people who are in it, I want to release them from some guilt. Maybe it's hard. It is going to be hard. It just is. It doesn't mean it has to be terrible. Oh my goodness, Ava May and Ella have been amazing. Like literally amazing girls. Like they are just, they're smart, they're funny, they're socially great with people. Like they're amazing. But there are things that, because they are from a different family, or, you know, meaning DNA, family of origin, and all of that, you know, it's different. It's a different process along the way.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's kind of cool to see, like, honestly, that, like, Ella's been with us since she was almost 3, so she's 14 now, and she only drinks water.
Yeah.
So she is very, and I'm not saying that's like every Haitian, but her like taste for food and things like that are so deep in her.
Yeah.
She honestly, like, when we talk about Haiti, she doesn't really remember it. Like, she'll talk about like pictures she's seen or videos, but she doesn't really remember being in Haiti. I'm sure deep down there are things that she does remember, but she doesn't really remember it. But there's so many things in her that sometimes she sounds Haitian, and she is. And like the food that she likes and that kind of thing, like, which I think is so cool how God does that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
That, like, there are these like roots of who you are.
And there should be.
In you. And there absolutely
should be.
Yes.
You know, like when we adopted Ava Mae, we weren't intending for her to form and mold into who we are.
Right.
You know? But that has been something that, you know, over time the Lord has had to work on me with. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, like Ava Mae isn't who you are. Yeah. And she does have something different in her that God's created her to be. Yeah. And that is wonderful and beautiful and amazing. And how can Derek and I make sure she has confidence in that? Right. You know, and like in her beautiful story, in who she came from, that she probably had an amazing bio family, you know, like I have to believe. Yeah. And you know, I don't know them, but I have to believe that. And so it's like, and there's amazing traits from her bio mom and dad that are going to be very different than me and Derek. Yes. And that's never going to change. Yeah. And that is okay. It's better than okay. It's great, you know?
And we're just like, Lindsey and I both are very open with our girls about their adoption stories, about all the details, you know? We don't, it's not something that we talk about regularly, but we have always been so open to talk about it, you know, and there will be questions along the way through the years that like Ella will ask, or we'll talk about it, or that kind of thing, and we've just always been very, very open, which I think adoption has come a long way in that it's better for the child if you're just very open about their stories and things like that with them.
Yeah, I think there's like a level of, you know, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. Like, you know, when you're first adopting, you most likely I did this. It was in all these Facebook groups, like with all these other adopted parents with kids from China, and like, you know, it is actually really, really good to have some other people in your life that have adopted, because again, for those personal conversations, right? Like, just like it's good to have other people in their life who have boys or who have girls. Like,
it's kind of this cool thing that God opens up doors of relationships, and your commonality is adoption. God does that with so many different things. You know?
For sure. And there's in a lot of these kids, it's so funny that are adopted, they do come home with some of the same tendencies and traits.
Right. From the same places.
Yes. And so it's actually kind of funny and interesting. Probably not as funny all the time because you're probably irritated, but looking at it, it's kind of interesting how that happens. And so, but I do think I've also seen some families who like really zone in on this whole adoption thing. Like, you're adopted, you own it, like you're Chinese, and Chinese, China, or Haiti, oh, we need to, and almost to a fault, because it's like, for sure, like, be proud of who you are, for sure, be proud of your story, you know, but we got to be careful not doing that, in my opinion, so much to the point that they feel different. Yeah. Like, oh, like, I'm different, like, oh my gosh, like, I need to be like happy about my country that I don't even remember. Right. And I'm all for like what I've kind of let Ava Mae lead the way on that.
Same.
I mean, I don't know Mandarin. Yes. So some people have asked me, do you speak Mandarin? Her, I'm like, negative, ghostwriter. I don't know Mandarin. Yeah. You know, like if we did, like awesome, we would have kept it going, but no. And so it's like in Ava Mae, all she knows is she's been born here. Like I know she knows she wasn't, but all she can remember is it's no different than her sisters and brothers, you know? And so I kind of if Ava Mae wants to talk about China, wants to know more about China, I'm all for it. Yes. But I'm not going to like shove it down her throat because her origins are China. Right. And I know people see differently on that. Yeah. You know, like heritage. I'm like, that is great. Like I am all for it if that's what she wants. Yes. But I'm also like, I think all she knows is being American.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think the journey's different for all kids who are adopted. Like, they're going to come to a point where they probably have more questions, or maybe they want to know about their country. That could be under your roof, or that could be when they're an adult, you know? Like, and I think what you said is good. Like, we do the same thing. We let Ella lead the way. And in some things, I think we talk about this on different episodes, different subjects. Any extremes probably aren't the best, even when it comes to these kind of things. That's right. So it's good maybe to just like let your kid lead the way in that. Like Ella says now that she doesn't want to go to Haiti. She's 14, okay? She doesn't know. She doesn't even, but Jeremy and I, if it's safe to go, right now it's currently not that safe for us to go. When it opens up, when Haiti opens up again for people to go, we most certainly are taking Ella.
Yeah, and that's how we've always been about China.
I mean, so even though she says this right now as a 14-year-old teenager, she also doesn't want to do a lot of things that we like make her go do. You know what I mean? But and if you ask her, she can't even tell you why she says she doesn't want to go. It's probably because she loves being home. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we kind of let her lead those things too. But you know, for us, because Ella is black and she's in a white family, you know, we have more conversations since she's become a teenager about how that really, she's navigating that, and we're trying to navigate it with her, and we don't have all the answers at all, but I know that that's hard for her. You know, and understanding, you know, we have a hair situation just with her hair, and her trying to figure out her hair, and me helping her, and we're navigating that, and it's just what it is. You know what I mean? But we talk about it, and we try to come up with solutions and that kind of thing, and yet it's just a process.
It is.
You know?
It is. And I think that, like, I think personalities play a part in that somewhat. Not Ella in being black, but just like the questions. You know, and like you said, like some might not have questions so they're older, some might have questions. I mean, we had a girl come here, a counselor for a camp, stay at our house with two other they were in college, and she's adopted from China. She was not adopted till she was like 6, and she was like, loves her her adoptive family, has been back to China, so grateful. But she's like, I'm just so grateful for my adoptive family, like I just love them. And you know, and then I've heard of kids who have a harder time, or who do want to like really dig up who is their bio family. I am ready for whatever Eva May wants. I have no problems whatsoever trying to find her bio family. That is hard to do in China, but it is a possibility. So we're not against that at all. I am not. Derek and I said the same thing. We would love to take her back to China. Derek would love to go back to China. The jet lag is a killer, but I definitely will do that for Eva May. I need China to be in better standings with the U.S. before that happens, because you have to be careful with stuff like that.
Oh, you do.
I mean, I'm bringing a Chinese daughter into their country, and even though she's an American citizen, she's considered that. She has a passport, she has all the documentation. For the safety of her, I want to be very careful with that. But when that door opens up again, like Ava May knows, like we've told her, we thought it would be in high school, but it's just not been great so far with China. But I'm like, when that door opens up, like we will take her, like we'll go back with her, like, and show her, you know, all the things. And so I think that's good for them if you can do it.
And just like anything else, this is all like a prayer point for Ella. Like it's like with my other kids, there's things that I'm praying for them a lot. It's the same thing in navigating her being in our family and her identity being in Christ and not in anything else. And you know that I pray for her all the time when it comes to that. And just that if there's any, you know, feelings of rejection or abandonment or things that just happened because of her story, that God would be able to redeem and restore those things. And I believe he has, and God reminds me a lot of her story, because again, you forget, like they're in your family. She's your daughter. She's a sister, whatever. And God reminds me occasionally of her story and how far we've come, how far she's come. You know, and just, and to continue to just be praying into that, just like you would do if there's other things with your kids.
With your other kids,
for sure. It's not because she's adopted, you know. But and God's just been so faithful. I think a cool thing that I think one of my favorite things, like my boys adore Ella. My 3 older boys kind of treat her like a queen because they're far apart in age, and her and Grayson fight more like brother and sister. But I have loved, and I don't think adoption is the only way to do this. I think missions trips, those kind of things, I think that it shaped my boys in a way that it's opened up their worldview.
Yeah.
You know, they love Ava Mae, they love Ella. I think our whole family. It's been good just to show them something that's different, to accept people, to just love people well, to be more open to differences in other people.
Yeah.
I'm just so thankful for that.
I am too.
I didn't think about that when we were done. That wasn't
we're doing what we feel like God gave us this like laser,
yeah.
mama focus. Like literally that's what it felt like. It was like mama bear.
Yeah.
Focus. I have a kid in another country and I need to go get them.
Right.
Literally. Like that's how it felt. But I think it's funny because you say that because it's so cool. Like we like will ask our kids, you know, periodically, like, how many kids, there's a bug in here, how many kids do you want to have, you know? And I love that, like, not all of them, but almost all of them are like, 2 bio kids and I want to adopt a kid.
Yes.
And I'm always like, okay, we've done good. Like they all want to adopt, you know? And I don't
They think that for them
that's normal.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing. It's a positive thing. Like they see how much they love Ava Mae and see how much they love Ella. Yeah. And like for them it's like, this is what you do. Yeah. And by for sure I would encourage them to be called from the Lord to do this.
Yeah.
Because it you know what they've seen of it is good. I'm glad they haven't seen how hard it probably was for us at first. But I'm glad they don't see that. But like it's like cool because it's like it warms my heart to think that they would even want to adopt. Now, they don't have to. Yeah. And I will be interested to see if any of them actually will, just because I do think it's something you really need to be called to do. But I'm like, I love that our family, like, it's so normal. And I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, we were talking about adoption. And I was like, you know, it's so normal now. Like, I don't think anything about it. But I also remember before we had adopted, and even you had adopted, if I saw families with adopted kids, I'd be like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Like, yeah. You know, and
you're
I'm like
just curious.
Mesmerized by it. And I'm like, meanwhile, we have this, and I don't think anything, like, I literally don't think about it anymore. Yeah. And so, I'm not insensitive to what
you're just doing your life.
I'm just saying it's like
your family, and you're just going along with your life.
Yeah, I mean, there's just nothing different, you know? So, it's a beautiful thing, but I definitely want to encourage anyone and everyone, obviously, to help in some way. I was actually telling somebody the other day this too about adoption, and we could probably close this out in a second, but you know, she was like, gosh, isn't adoption expensive? And I said, honestly, it is expensive. And I was like, but you know what is so cool is I was like, I have seen, like, people rally.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, adoption is something that I've seen. Like, if you want to adopt, you have gone to adopt and you fundraise, people are waiting for things like that to give to.
People get behind it.
They get behind it and they want to help you financially because like not everyone is called to do that. And if someone can, you know, support that, they feel like they're doing their part. And they are. And so I was like, really, like, money to me, like, should not be a reason. I know it's scary, but it should not be a reason not to do it.
God will provide. I mean, I think it's just one of those things where you see God's faithfulness and you see the obedience of believers. Because the Bible has called us to take care of the orphan and the widow. And you see it. Like, people, the money is not...
We saw it happen for y'all, our friend Shannon.
Yes.
Like, the Lord and she's a single mom.
Yes.
And I remember the money was something that she was concerned about. And it's crazy. The Lord just rallied behind her. Yeah. I mean, people rallied behind her. And I think it gives, like you said, it gives people a way to be obedient to God's word through you know? So, and then we've also had friends adopted through foster care here in the United States. And I think that is just as equally a hard journey, just a different way.
Yes.
Just a different process, a different way, but it's amazing too.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that I just want to say, like, adoption's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing.
I believe, and someone told us this when we were adopting Ella. They said, and then we were in the process, if you get to bring Ella home, God just worked a miracle. Yeah. And I believe that for kids who are adopted into families and for the families, that God worked a miracle in your family. You know, and I really do believe that because it's something that, like we said before, is broken and it's not supposed to be that way, and then God redeems and restores. Yeah. And it goes both ways. A lot of people will be like, oh, Ella's so lucky. And I'm like, oh no, we are the lucky ones.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so it's just God has worked in both of our families and our family, big family, just with the miracle of adoption. Honestly.
Absolutely. One thing that Derek says, and I thought this was so cool, is he said, he had heard a story about a grandmother who had been in an orphanage, and actually I think in the United States years ago when they had more of that here, and she got adopted from a Christian family. And he goes, Lindsey, when you adopt, he was like, you're not just changing the trajectory of that one child, especially if you're adopting into a Christian family and introducing them to the Lord. You are talking Ava Mae's kids, her grandkids, the Lord is using that family to change the trajectory of generations and generations of people. Yeah. And I'm like, it's so true. Yeah. So many people out there are like, oh, I'm not going to do anything because I can't do it for 10 kids. I don't want to do it for one. Why? Yeah. I mean, it's not one. First of all, and even if it was just that one, it's worth every second of your time or dime or whatever you want to look into it like, right? But even if it was just that one, this was something Derek thought of way later because this was like just a few years ago. But it doesn't just affect Ava Mae. The Lord is moving in her kids and her grandkids. I just think that's so cool in Ella, you know?
So cool. Yeah.
Anyway, so.
And I mean, there's so much more we could probably talk about. If you have questions, just let us know. Yeah. And we might come back around to talking about some adoption things because there were things I was thinking of just when we were talking. I'm like, we don't have time to talk about all.
We don't have time, but I will say, like, just like I don't ever refer to Ava Mae different from our other kids, but adopted, bio, it doesn't matter. It's a learning curve. It's things you have to work on. Every child is different, right? But the one thing that is the same is what the Word of God says about Ava Mae is no different than the Word of God says about my other kids or me. It's all the same, and Ava Mae and Ella are amazing. Yeah, they are. Literally. So, all right, so we'll end it. I know this is a little bit longer today, but okay. So, question of the week is: I don't think we've asked this question yet. Have we asked? It's been it's so many questions of the week. Have we asked? Like, where would you want to go? Like, if you could go anywhere on a vacation, like let's just say you and Jeremy.
I feel like, have we done it on the episode or have we done it more like in small groups or something?
I know. I don't know. But this is like, whatever, bucket list. I don't really love that term necessarily, but bucket list item.
If it's just Jeremy
If it's just you and Jeremy, where's somewhere that you want to go for like a vacation trip, whatever you want to look at?
We want to go to like Italy or Greece, or both. We could do both in the same trip. Amazing. That's where we would want to go. European.
Okay.
Just him and I.
Again, unlimited funds. That's it.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then I have other things for our whole family, but
Yeah. I want to go to Switzerland.
Oh yeah.
So this is an Instagram problem. It's Instagram's fault.
Right.
Because I feel like
it lures you in.
It does. It lures me in. I feel like I keep seeing things about Switzerland, and I haven't in a while, but like I'm probably going to start seeing it now because I said it. But it just looks so beautiful. I don't want to go when it's snowy though. I want to go when it's like summer. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know about hot, but like when you can see. I just love the idea of seeing the waterfalls and the mountains and the beautiful green, and I don't know. I just really, really want to go there. Hawaii was that. Right,
you
went to Hawaii.
That.
Would love to go back to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Literally, I keep getting things on my phone about it, and almost every day I'm like, I wish I was in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I wish I was in Hawaii. I want to go back.
So you want to go to Switzerland, just you and Derek?
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool to like bring my kids to any of these places, but it's just like, ideally, like the chance of us going to Switzerland, just me and him, is higher than it is me and the kids. Right. You know, so even Hawaii, like my kids are like, are we gonna go back? I'm like, your dad and I are gonna go back.
You're like, maybe when you're married?
I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We would like for y'all to come back when y'all are all adults and, like have your own families. But, I for sure think after we go to Hawaii, we will go back to Hawaii. Probably just Derek and I. But Switzerland would be like, I mean, we're not planning a trip to Switzerland anytime soon, but it would be somewhere that I would like to go to.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
and we love to travel, and you guys like to travel.
We really do like to travel. It's fun.
I want to do it more. I mean, like the older we get, the more empty nesters, that kind of thing, the more finances that you have.
I'm not a big I don't want to be gone for weeks on end. Some people can be gone for 3 weeks, a month, whatever. I don't know.
But you enjoy traveling.
I do enjoy
Yeah.
traveling, yes.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if that's like even something I would ever, I don't know. Like I think about it, I'm like maybe when we're empty nesters, me and Derek would want to go somewhere for that long. But I feel like by the time we're empty nesters, we might have kids that are married.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna want to see them
Yeah.
or their my
Yes.
grandkids. And so I'm like, am I ever gonna want to go somewhere for like a month?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe Hawaii for a month.
Yeah. If I had to say that now, I would say no for me for a
Yeah.
whole month. I would really love my own bed. But I do want to travel and do more things.
I just think after let's say I would say 2 weeks max.
Yeah.
I feel like after 10 days to me is about the perfect amount.
Remember when we went to the beach for 3 weeks?
Yes,
It was too long.
It was too long. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 10 days is to me about a good amount, like a week and a
10
half.
days is my favorite.
To me,
Yes.
you go somewhere, you've been there long enough to
Yes.
enjoy things, but not so short that you feel like you're cramming everything
Yeah.
in. We went to Spain, it was 8 days. Hawaii was 10 days.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Yeah.
It was great. I actually felt
Yeah. Well, depending on how far you're traveling, sometimes you need 10 days.
true.
You know.
You
so.
do. So anyways,
Yeah.
but that's it.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, we hope you guys enjoy this episode. Not sure if you feel like adoption's on your radar, but I hope we encourage you.
Yeah.
You know, that it's amazing, but I
I
also
hope we
hope
didn't
we
scare
told
anybody.
I know. I hope we didn't scare anybody, but I hope we also told you some truths.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's just some truths there, but it's also amazing and absolutely worth
Yep.
every bit of it. All right. Bye guys.